In the eyes of the community, Juren has become the poster boy of overpowered release and has quickly become the most hated hero. With his insane flow state and his lightning fast chains, he deals damage like no other, while still staying safe from major counter damage. With his entire stick being held attacks, the arsenal he has at his disposal creates a feeling where, no matter what you do, you're at the losing end. With now 2 major nerfs under his belt, and probably counting, has Labubu reached a balanced state in the game? No, he hasn't. But I think this is okay, let me explain. The question that comes to mind immediately is, how can Juren be anywhere close to viable, even after 2 sets of nerfs? The simple answer is the amount of options he has, combined with his still above average damage and frankly ridiculous stamina efficiency. When it comes to Dominion, his ability to create a lot of external unblockables, mainly through the use of both his held dodge attacks and his held heavy, that seems to be lunging across the entire map at times, make him into the team fighting monster he is. These moves create a ridiculous amount of external pressure. While attacks like his held sidesteps are good on the offensive, the utility they provide on the defensive is beyond comprehension. With multiple defensive options on every mix-up, actually landing damage against him can prove to be extremely difficult. All of these tools also allow him to slip through external mix-ups without any risk, since his held sidesteps let him charge real smooth into safety in an instant. The cleaving potential of his entire kit forces you to always keep an eye on the enemy Juren at all times, since otherwise you won't be able to tell if the next attack that Juren does randomly decides to launch across half of the map. But these moves are just part of the bigger problem with Juren. His kit is ridiculously bloated. Let's take a quick look at both his held light and his held zone attack. Even though his held light has yet to be utilized fully due to a lack of proper playtesting, just having that option already creates a lot of extremely unorthodox scenarios when attacking Juren. For the time being, people only use held lights when they see their opponent is at critical health, making baiting them out substantially easier. The second people start throwing those lights out when they aren't in a serious health lead though, is when they can have their biggest potential impact. For his health zone, it is very similar, but with the added benefit that you can Beyblade yourself out of many ganking situations, often cleaving multiple people at once in the process. On the topic of hitboxes, his health unblockable is also problematic to say the least. At release, the animation of the attack was bugged. Of course it was, making it about 500 milliseconds fast, meaning the speed of a regular neutral light. After some so-called nerfs, the attack has been slowed down to about 1 second. This of course fixed the problem with the fast attack, but it created a far bigger one. Juren's combo bashes, especially when you're near a wall, become a very scary tool. In order to avoid them, you need to pre-dodge after an attack. And here is where things turn from bad to worse. Due to the long animation and the input window of the held attack, Labu creates many true 50-50s, which most definitely wasn't the outcome they were hoping for. This often leads to his mix-ups just straight up chewing through most of your health in no time. Due to his recovery cancels, his advantage state is unrivaled by any other hero. Just like other high tier heroes, he can turn one hit into a slippery slope of death for his opponents. His snowballing potential is beyond insane. Couple his aforementioned busted stamina efficiency with his still very solid damage, and you start to understand why people hate him so much. The reduced damage on both of his combo bashes brought him to a somewhat healthy level in 1v1s, but the rest of his kit still makes him into a Dominion monster. Combining his running attack with zone attacks makes him able to commit war crimes on B faster than even the best mid-clearer. Due to how Juren was designed, all of his problematic aspects become very clear both in 1v1s and teamfights. Yet it somehow becomes way more obvious in teamfights. If played correctly, Juren can stall a point basically indefinitely. With his full block and extended dodge, The only solid way to deal damage to him is by guard breaking him, which feeds heaps of revenge, and once that funny little yellow bar is full, well, he becomes a serious problem. Although most of his feats were addressed, they're still overtuned. Both God Among Men and Last Man Standing were nerfed, and heavily nerfed respectively. God Among Men still feels absolutely terrible to have activated against and for you. If you're friendly, LeBrew activates that feat at the wrong time, it could wipe your team in an instant. On the other hand, if it is used correctly, it becomes a stronger fear itself with no counterplay, leading to all parties not really having fun apart from Juren. Last Man Standing still leads to endgames where people simply don't fathom how to gank, watch my video, and therefore feed the last guy revenge multiple times. I have yet to play a match where this whole last stand lifelink has done anything but stall out the game. Somehow his second feat, No Friend of Mine, remained unchanged, even though it provides a lot of survivability with a very small cooldown. All of that talk about the minion shouldn't diverge from the fact that he's still a 1v1 monster. Unlike other heroes, Juren doesn't obey the established rules of the neutral game. Look at Khatoon. After a successful kick mix-up, she leaves her chain with a light hit reaction. In non-unemployed terms, this means if both you and your opponent press light attack, his will hit you first. This is a general rule that applies to basically every hero. LeBrew basically just says, screw that, watch this shit. What I mean by this is that he has the ability to use a held attack after light finisher in order to keep momentum. This works for his held light, held heavy, and held zone attack. The plus frames he gains on basically any and all moves lead to situations where you get sent back to the title screen in no time. Coming back to the point I wanted to make, why I think Juren being in the state he is right now is justified. His design simply created a balancing nightmare. Even after multiple nerfs to his, well, everything, he is still a very strong hero across all modes. With the main ways he could be balanced further being a reduction in stamina or damage, he could become extremely underwhelming if those numbers were changed again. The main design philosophy for Juren was to give him a lot of options, which somehow has worked better than ever anticipated, to be honest. Tweaking LeBrew any further, apart from minor number changes, could lead to him just falling off completely, which I really wouldn't like to see. At the end of the day, we got a truly unique hero that brings a lot of new ways to engage in a fight to the game. And it would be sad to see LeBrew get nuked off the face of the earth for being strong. But anyways, I have just one more thing to say. Watch yourselves out there, okay?